Hi. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it's season 4. That's so exciting. And this first episode of season 4, this is somebody that I have wanted to talk to for so long and watched her online and all her stuff for so long. So this is a really great interview to start off season 4 with. It's so exciting. But before we get into today's episode, I wanted to share something new and fun that I'm doing this season. I've added a second show, kind of a mini series called Never Have I Ever. And so every other week, I'm going to bring on a friend who works in the creative field, just like the guests that are on Liquid Courage currently. And we're going to play a little special edition of Never Have I Ever. The series is funny, lighthearted, vulnerable, obviously. And we end up talking about things that we've always wanted to do, that we've never had the courage to do. I mean, some of the things pop up that we're like, I've never wanted to do that, and thank God I never have. Or maybe I have and I regret it. So far, I'm having so much fun recording the episodes, and I'm learning stuff about myself too, so added bonus. So the first Never Have I Ever episode will be coming out next Wednesday, July 19th. And for future episodes, if you want to submit a prompt that we can use on the show, I would love that. To do that, just click the link in the episode description, or you can also head over to our Instagram at Liquid Courage Podcast, and the link will be there. Submit a prompt that we can use on the show. Something like, never have I ever... Well, you can finish the rest. Welcome to Liquid Courage, the podcast where I, Amanda Pereira, sit down with a fellow artist that I admire and ask them the questions I've never had the guts to ask them before. Sounds scary? Yeah, it really is. So I use a little liquid courage in the form of my guest's favorite drink. We cheers, chat, and connect as I attempt to soak up all the wisdom they have to offer. Today I sit down with Aisha Alfa and we sip on some sparkling wine. Aisha is a comedian, actor, writer, host. She does it all. You'll probably, or definitely, recognize Aisha from her on-screen roles in shows like Criminal Minds, Degrassi, Good Trouble on Hulu, and Sorry for Your Loss, acting alongside Elizabeth Olsen. Her latest show, based on a true story, a dark comedy starring Kaylee Cuoco and Chris Messina, just premiered last month on Peacock. As a stand-up comedian, Aisha has performed all over the world, including at Just for Laughs in Montreal, Cape Town Comedy Club in South Africa, and the upcoming Afrik Rire Culture Festival in Geneva, Switzerland. Her comedy has been featured on The Drew Barrymore Show, and her comedy album, All the Parts, was included as one of Ebony Magazine's 5 Black female comedy albums to Get Your Chuckle On. Aisha created and hosts the video interview series +1 about pregnancy, fertility, and motherhood. And she co-hosts the podcast Shout Out Show with Sophia Zolan, where they offer a hilarious and positive escape from the everyday doom and gloom. So Aisha is a comedian, actor, writer, host, and someone I admire immensely. Hi, Aisha. Again.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so when we were just getting ready, we were just talking about how, I was sharing how I started sweating, taking a sip of sparkling rosé. And I was going to tell you, because you were saying about like being a sweaty 13-year-old. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you used to do this, but if I went on a date or like a group hangout at the movies and I thought it was going to be a date, I would purposely get like a soft drink, a pop, a soda, who knows where the listeners are coming from. And I would hold it, double fist it the whole time in case anyone wanted to hold my hand. I'm like, oh, sorry, it's wet. Like, it's the drink.
Wait, would you do that because your hands would be sweaty or because you just didn't want to?
My hands would be sweaty.
Okay, my hands are kind of clammy sometimes too. For me,
Okay.
it's my armpits. And when I started going through puberty, I kid you not, one armpit like decided to be sweaty first. So I would have one pit stain and the other one would be dry. It was so weird. And like, I used to like die laughing about it and then it didn't go away. And like, then the other one just joined in and got really sweaty.
Okay, good. Okay, she joined.
But I think it's like, it is probably good because it's probably weirder to have just one that's really like hyperhidrosis-y kind of sweaty. But like, I remember times where I would be sitting there and I would feel nervous and I would feel it dripping out of my shirt if my arm was down, like dripping off my elbow.
Oh my God.
Because my body was just like, yeah, it's nuts. I think also that it has something to do with the fact that like I was wearing antiperspirant, you know what I mean, to try and stop it. And then in the last like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, I got away from that and stopped using it. Had a real hard time the first bit where your body like sweats out all the disgusting toxins you've put into it for years. But then I used to get like rashes from it, so I stopped, and then I started wearing tea tree oil, just like patting it underneath, and now
Yeah.
I just use like really like deodorant, like natural deodorant and stuff, and like I still sweat a bit, not as much as before, but I don't like smell bad, I guess. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Stress sweat stinks like nobody's business. Don't you think?
Oh, yes. Or like if I've eaten something that I know my body doesn't like, and then my sweat will smell so much. I actually learned
Oh,
about stinky BO sweat from a girl in first grade. She would always eat green peppers, and then I could smell green peppers on her in gym, and I'm like, why do I? But it wasn't her breath, and it was like tangy green peppers, and I'm like,
oof.
And then later, it wasn't until years later I look back, I'm like, oh my god, that was her sweat.
She was sweating it out.
She was, poor thing. I don't think her body liked green peppers, maybe.
You know what? I mean, here's the thing. I'm
Here's
not
the
even drinking
thing.
alcohol, but we're just letting it all hang out. I'm sweaty. I'm a gassy bitch. Like
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
I'm like my family, my whole family, aunts, uncles, grown men are like Aisha is the disgusting father. Like
They'll just
it's just
know.
my husband was like before when we first started dating, I was like, you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna fart in front of you, and people are like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand. And it's like toxic. It's like you need that. It's not good. And he was like, look, it's fine. I'm the farter of my family. And then I like started
Oh.
letting him. And he was like, oh God, no, you've stolen my power. Like this is crazy. So I'm not. I would say like on paper, not really like a catch for smells. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, smells and like things emitted from your body.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
not really
Yeah.
great. I make up
But
for it in
yeah.
other ways.
100%. It's also so cute to me that like a farter and a farter found each other. Like that's what I heard in that. It's like the
That's
romance.
that's your like take a,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful story. I think I might write a screenplay called A Farter and a Farter Me and like all of
Please do. Please do.
yeah.
I will be there day opening night. I will be there. I'm so excited for it.
It's gonna
Yes.
be the stinkiest premiere.
Yeah.
There's
Oh my
a
god,
bunch of
4D. You have to do 4D where like the gas emits from the chairs. Oh, we have I'll still come. I will. We all have
oh,
masks now. Like we're so prepared for a 4D stinky little movie. Like we got to go. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
into it.
Okay. Well, something else exciting other than the premiere of The Farter and the Farter Found Each Other is I saw on Instagram that you just celebrated your first 4th of July officially as an American citizen. Congratulations.
Yes, it was very interesting because I've never been a citizen of America. So I
Mm-hmm.
just got my citizenship a couple weeks ago. And I think it's like because I'm Canadian, I grew up in Canada. I'm like not born in Nigeria, grew up in Canada, now I live here. And so I think as a Canadian, maybe because I was also an athlete, like we're like our subconscious is trained to like hate the American flag. Do you know what I mean? With like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
like
yeah.
I see the Canadian flag on the podium. Like when the American flag goes up so many times because they win so much. I can't say they. We now American. Um,
Oh,
but like then my girlfriend who was visiting from Canada, she decorated our whole yard with like American flags and American paraphernalia, and I was like, I had to dive in. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I dove in and I'm like having fun. We went to a block party.
Mm,
But it's like it's like for so long I was like I'm Canadian, not American. And now I'm like I think like culturally I still am very Canadian, obviously,
mm,
because that's where I grew up. But like I have to come to terms with the fact that like I live in America. Like I
mm.
am American a little like I don't know even what to say because I'm like happy to be here. I love it here. I love California.
Mhm,
Let's say I love California. I love Los Angeles. This is where my kids are. This is where my husband is. So I'm like I
mm.
love sunshine. I'm having a time, right? But like it is just a weird transition.
Yeah. I feel like as Canadians in the entertainment industry, we are taught to both hate and want to be American. Like
Yeah.
we're taught to like hate America like we're better, but like oh my god, please accept us, please have us in there. One day I'll be there. Like it's that
Yeah.
weird juxtaposition. And also, I feel like you deserve to celebrate it because it's a lot of work and money and time and energy being able to move there and live there. Like whether it's an O1 visa, a green card, whatever. I think actually there's a lot of like misconceptions about that because so often if I'm ever like venting to my non-industry friends or family or whatever about acting, and they're like, well, why don't you just go to LA? I'm like, why don't I just, like, what was that experience like for you? Because I do think like you deserve to celebrate the hell out of getting citizenship, because it's so fucking hard. Like, it really is.
It is. I mean, like, I grew up in Winnipeg. So, and I grew up with parents who were both academics. So it's not like I had this dream of being an actor or moving to LA my whole life. Like, that came way later. And I got into acting and comedy like late in life, you know, like my first time I did stand up, I was 30. So it's not like I was like 15, like, knew I wanted to be that. So for me to like, you know, have a career in Canada and then make this move when I'm not a spring chicken over here, like, you're never gonna make it. You're never gonna, you know. And then, you know, I came over originally to be part of the NBC Diversity Stand-Up Finals. That's the first time I ever came to LA. And then through that, I got like, they hired us all to do like these college tours and do stand-up there. So I had a visa just to do live stand-up. And then I applied eventually because I had an agent here and I kept like getting opportunities, but I couldn't take them. So I applied for my green card, which people are like, oh, so you just like submit some papers? And I'm like, no, that's not. It took me a year to accumulate all the stuff from the past and to know what I needed, and like so much money. And so much like, we think we've got all the stuff, but then like we forgot about this. We, you know, like just all this, like you think you got it and then you don't. And then I finally applied and sent it in. And then my like authorization got lost in the mail. Like, it was so crazy. And so like, you know, and then you do all that, and then I've been here for a while. I ended up getting married. Everyone's like, oh, so you got your green card through marriage. And I was like, no, I did it the hard way. That's like, you have to prove you're an alien of extraordinary ability. Like, it's
Oh my God. Yeah. That like, oh no, they wouldn't hire Jennifer Lawrence. They'd choose me over her. That's how I'm proving that I deserve to be here. It's so, even the wording is so intimidating.
It's insane. Like, when I went to the lawyer I went to, he was like, okay, let's just start this off. Have you won an Oscar? Or do you have a Nobel Prize? And I was like, no.
Yeah, in my back fucking pocket. Nope, right? Both of them. Absolutely.
So he goes, okay. So now we have to get into the real, because he's like, if you had done either of those, we could just submit that, because that's basically proof that like no one else could do what you do. And I was like, isn't that interesting?
Oh my God.
So it was a no for me on those so far. But yeah, then you like, you know how it is. Like, there's no, in their industry, there's no real like the best of anything. There's just like someone who gets the part or doesn't get the part, but lots of people could be right for it. But you have to have all these letters from people saying like, I would hire her in a second, and there's no one else I want to hire but her. And so, you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of money. And then I applied for my citizenship, and you pay more money, of course, and you have to like send in all these documents and stuff. And then you like go and you have an oral test in someone's office. Like, I went in, and the guy, I went to go sit down. He's like, don't sit down yet. I have to swear you in. And it's literally just the two of us. I was like, okay. And you have to swear that you're going to tell the truth. Then you like sit down, and there's 100 different questions they can ask you that are available to study, which I did. And then he just like asks you questions from this list, and you have to get them right. And then there's like,
and is it like a quiz, like about like American history? Like,
oh my God, I wish it wasn't. It's just like, yeah, like, who is Kim Kardashian into now?
Oh, I would be American in a fucking second. I could nail. I mean, the Kardashians, I'm a little behind, but like anything else streaming on Hey You, I'm there. Like, I know all of it. So yeah, what are the questions that they're asking?
There's a bunch of like questions about history or about politics, basically. So you have to know like your local representative for your like zip code, and also like who was president during World War I, and things like that.
Because that makes you American? I'm so confused knowing that. It's funny, a friend of mine who, oh, actually, this is perfect, who grew up in LA, came to Toronto, getting their citizenship here, just did. And wow, I should introduce you two. You're the opposite. You're passing each other. Anyway, just got their citizenship here. And they were saying like all the things that they were studying to answer similarly about Canada. I was like, I know zero of those. Like, I don't think I know any of those answers. I don't know how that makes you like, okay, yes, you may live in this country. That's so archaic
It's
to
a very
me.
strange thing because like a lot of Americans don't know this information. And I think also a lot of Canadians don't know the information that's on the test. I know that in Winnipeg anyway, the Winnipeg Free Press used to every Canada Day list every question that they can pull from for the Canadian test, so you could test and
Oh.
see like how Canadian are you kind of thing. Um, and I think it would be interesting here to see how many people can
Yeah.
answer all these questions because like a lot of people are like, go back to where you are, you're not American, but it's like, what does that actually mean to be
Yeah.
American? What
Mm-hmm.
does it like, this is just like Canada, like it's all stolen land. We're all immigrants here. We're all settlers. Like people who are like in America, like especially in like Southern California when they're
Mm-hmm.
telling Mexicans to go, like, would you jump the border? And I feel like it's like, would you jump the ocean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like this used to
Like,
be Mexico, dude. Like we just pushed these lines on these
yeah.
arbitrary lines. It's so crazy.
It is, but it's like, well, I was gonna say read a history book, but honestly, can't. They all wrote it and they're erased. Go do an ancestry.com thing. You're gonna learn you're not. Yeah, 100%. I feel like the test should be more like, this person dropped their purse. Are you gonna take the money or give it back? Like, let's test the values and
Value.
morals of the person wanting to join the community, not if they know who the fucking second president was. Like, who
I mean, I
cares?
think that is important for, like, for example, being a citizen, one of your rights is that you can vote, right? And so I think it is important to understand the political system and how it all works because then you are an informed voter. So I do think that's important. I do also think it's important for people to know history of the place that they're living. It doesn't have to be like extensive history or anything, but like I think you should know like what's happened and what's going on now. But I agree that like the value thing, like you want people. I mean, even though to play devil, I hate saying devil's advocate. To see the other side of it as well is that like there's lots of people here who are bad people, but like they're allowed to be here. So if someone's
Right.
coming in, they have to be like the best version of anybody to get in.
That's
But
so
one of
true.
the questions on the like when I filled the paperwork out to get my citizenship was, are you or have you ever been a drunkard? Literally this word, drunkard. And I started laughing so hard, I was like, what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I was gonna hide it and be like, oh, is that a drunk person? I don't know what that is.
I was like, is it better if I say no? I'm like, I have been drunk before. Or does
Yeah.
America like, we don't want no people who don't drink in here. We want
You're like,
it's so
I am
funny.
whatever you want me to be. I don't
Right,
know.
I was like,
What are you? I'm you.
You have to like test in the room. Like you have to swear that you would bear arms for the country. And like it's so funny because I was
Woof.
like I don't use guns, right? Like even if I could, I'm just not interested. It's not something for me. But of course, like you say yes because the guy he asked me that question and I was like yes, and he goes really, and I was like look, I will do whatever it takes to stay in this country because this is where my kids are, and he's like
Yeah.
"Sure."
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's like, okay, yeah, Mama Bear will bear arm. Mama Bear will bear arms. For
Exactly.
The kids.
I'm like,
Yeah,
that's the only reason I ever would, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he was like, the truth is, once you pass this, you can do whatever you want. You can be in the picket line. You can go back to Canada. He's like, we're not gonna be able to do anything. And I was like, fair enough. He was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's funny that you were like, what is American? Because I remember on your Instagram story, you were like, at this 4th of July party, I feel more American than like most of the people here. And it got me thinking a little bit like, what makes you, okay, you specifically, like what makes you feel American? Or like when you're there, what makes you feel like, yeah, okay, like I'm a part of this group of people?
I mean, I think honestly, I'm not sure yet because on that day I was literally just like we were talking about citizenship, and so I was
Yeah.
like mumbling off as if I
Oh.
know so much, like
Yeah,
these
yeah.
100 questions that have been hanging.
Yeah. You knew everything.
I knew everything.
Yeah.
But like I think that being American really is like about being patriotic. Like it's a
Yeah.
very patriotic country, but like that means different things to different people. Like I know a lot of Black people were posting on their Instagram and on their socials like about how like America needs to do better, which I agree with. And also it's about like being Black in America. Like the American Black experience, like Black with a capital B, is a very like cultural experience, which has like a different set of parameters, I think, for feeling like you belong in that. And then I'm sure that like Indigenous people feel a different sense about like 4th of July and what it means to them and what it means for them to be a part of this country. So it's like I think there's like lots of different ways, but like the typical way that I think of all of us Canadians think of Americans is like pew 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 pew, yeah, like
Yeah.
cartoon that like what is his name, Sinister Sam or something like that,
I'm thinking of Looney Tunes. Yeah.
Yeah. That guy, like
Pew, 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 double fist.
Yeah.
The huge mustache. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of negative connotations when I think of what it feels like to be American. But then I'm like, well, I know so many lovely Americans. That's not, and I'm sure it's this. It's stereotypes, it's generalizations. It's usually like the polarized, like worst ends of types of people and all that stuff.
Everyone thinks all of they're like, Canadians are so polite and nice. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, lots of Canadians are polite and nice. Also, lots of Americans are polite and nice. Also, lots of Canadians are jerks and lots
total
of
dicks. I know. It's like people are just people, and they are absolutely affected by and influenced by like where they live and that like boiling pot of where they are growing up. But yeah, people are just people, 100%. But you've also like spoken in your stand-up about how moving to America, like the experience of moving there, how you were treated differently with being biracial there versus in Canada. And you had talked about it in terms of like, in this specific article that I was reading, you were talking about it in terms of like trying to figure out what your perspective and point of view was as an artist and like as a stand-up comedian. And I found that so interesting because for me, at least, I struggle, like, I always want to know what my point of view is and my perspective. I feel like I have to know it before I put any piece of writing or anything out in the world, which is like problematic in itself. But I'm just wondering what the experience is like of figuring out what your perspective is through performing and writing versus like figuring it out beforehand, feeling like you have to figure it out beforehand and then like approach.
Yeah, I definitely don't know if I have ever figured out my perspective before anything. Honestly, I feel like I'm just like a kind of person. Like I go on stage and I like work out a nugget of an idea and hope it is funny. And sometimes I say things I'm like, what am I even saying right now? But I think that part of it is like I'm pretty like consistent, I think, with like who I am and how I am in general. The interesting thing for me most recently, so when I moved from Canada here, the big thing was people were like, no, you black girl, like you are black. And I was like, oh, snap, okay. But like I hadn't.
Good to know.
Yeah. Like it was just a different thing, right? Like so I hadn't really experienced a lot of like lived culture of blackness and American blackness, but people assume I had because I look a certain way. And so I felt like an imposter when I first came because people, I would be asked to like send in packages for certain shows that were very much a perspective of like someone with a lived experience of being black here, which felt weird to me. And now I feel like I've lived some of it, so I have a better idea of what it's like. So all of that stuff. But then, also I'm biracial. I'm an immigrant twice. I moved from Nigeria to Canada and then from Canada to here. I'm a feminist. It's so funny. I was just talking with Coco Galore, who I'm sure you have. During Pride about how like I've always considered myself not like I guess I should say I've never considered myself to be straight, but like I've never been like put in a box for that. Like I've dated a lot of men, I've dated some women, like I don't really think of myself as anything. So like I would now consider myself under like the like label, I guess, of being queer, but I'm also married to a man with 2 kids. So like I was talking to her about like not wanting to like take up space in that area necessarily because it feels like I'm taking space away from somebody who might need that space for their voice. And she was like, girl, you got to take up space no matter where you are. It was like a good conversation. But like all of these things that like naturally kind of come out of me, whether I intend them to or not, because it's like so much of my lived experience. But most recently, I think the thing that's really shifted is becoming a mom, which I never thought I wanted. I never thought I would be a mom. I never wanted to get married. I was like against it for me. And then because of that, I never thought I would have kids because I did not want to have kids by myself. And so like, flip to 5 years later, I'm happily married with 2 kids. And it's like I have to like rethink about like who am I and like what am I really, and all those things still apply, but now there's this added level of like nothing else matters to me, like without even having to think about it, without even having to like feel any remorse for it. Nothing else matters to me other than my children. Like my children are the only thing. My husband, I tell him, I'm like, you're a very close second. But like my kids, are like,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the thing.
I will bear arms for the kids, but maybe not the husband. You know?
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
We'll
he's
see.
an adult. He can do himself. Yeah.
Yeah. He can bear his own arms.
He can bear
Yeah.
some, he's got big old arms. Like, let him bear some arms. Yeah.
He can bear the arms.
But like, so it's really shifted things because I still am really passionate about like my career. I've never wanted to be like someone who like be just not, I don't want to say just, but someone who stayed at home with their kids as the job, their main job. I've always been someone who's had goals outside of the house and wanted to do those things. So, it's like almost having to come to terms with the fact that I'm like, am I a mom first now? Oh God, like I have to like reconcile that with like who I've been for my whole life, you know?
Yeah.
So
What do
I'm
you
going
think
through,
that? What do you think that is? Like, well, and even when you said like I never wanted to get married, like that was what was, and because we don't know each other at all, and this is the first time we're ever talking, I feel like it's unfair of me to not add some kind of context. I have no children. I am not married. I have been with my partner for a very long time, but I also, I one of the reasons I'm asking is also I'm like genuinely like, yes, okay, help. What's that? Because I never was. I love going to other people's weddings. I think they're so fucking fun.
Yeah.
I love seeing my
I used to be a
loved
wedding
ones
planner.
in love. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I forgot you did. I forgot you did. Yeah, in my research, I saw that. So, okay. Oh my God, I didn't even connect those two. So, but I've never been interested in getting married. The marriage part can sound lovely on many days. The wedding part sounds absolutely horrible. And most people that I know who get married the day of, they're not selling it. It's not a good commercial for weddings. It seems so unhappy. So what was it for you? I guess first with getting married,
Yeah.
and if it connects to motherhood too, but like, what was your aversion to it? Or what do you think that was in yourself?
I mean, for me, it was a very like philosophical opposition to this idea of being possession. So, or having some sort of legal binding thing. And also I think it was very much flavored by the fact that I was like, had never been with anybody that I feel like I wanted to be with for a long time. My first boyfriend ever, great relationship, best foray into like dating and everything. We're still friends to this day. I said like,
Aw.
if we had ended up getting married, it wouldn't have probably worked well, but it would not have been a disaster. You know what I mean? Every single person after that, absolute like house fire. Like,
Oh my God, Aisha, you should find out if the first person you dated was the farter in their family and if the rest of them weren't.
Can I tell you? He's not gonna hear this. He used to fart all the time, and
Oh
not
my God.
because there would be like silent ones. He thought no one knew he was farting. I was like, "You stink," and he's like, "What do you mean?"
Right.
I'm like, "We can all smell you farting." He's like, "You can smell that," and I was like, "What world do you live in that you think people can't smell your farts, man?" Maybe we like attract each other with our farting pheromones. I don't know.
Yes, and that's how you know. So if it's like, anyway, now you don't need to know. But if you ever like, hey, we're gonna open up our marriage or whatever, if you're ever like on the hunt for something, you gotta find those pheromones.
Get them farting.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, so maybe it was flavored by that. That's fair. That it was like, well, I've just never been with somebody. Like my
Yeah.
partner now is so marriage worthy. Wedding, and I'm with you on the ownership. That's even like with a lot of, I guess it's more in hetero relationships for sure, but like any sort of ownership within like monogamy even. And I am in a monogamous relationship, but so much of the talk around relationships, or even if it's like, oh, I like when they get jealous or all these things, I'm like, this is so ownership-y.
Yeah.
I hate this. It feels horrible.
It's so, and then like this is the thing that really gets my goat, if you will.
Let me tell you.
When, like, I don't even know why this started ever, but when modern, this is so judgmental and I don't even care at this point. When,
Great.
when women,
Let's do it.
this day and age, take their husband's last name.
Oh, I'm so interested in this. Okay, talk to me. Yes.
Unless they hate their name and they're just
Okay.
looking for a change. But when people are just like introducing Mr. and Mrs. James Schneider, I'm like,
Hell no.
I just don't exist anymore. I'm just the add-on. Like,
And why? Like, I am more okay if the couple has made that choice.
right.
Still, I'm like, hold on, we're gonna ask 3 more times. Are you sure? Are you okay? Do you want help?
Blink
Like,
twice
kind
if
of
you
thing.
need
Yeah,
help.
exactly. Blink twice if you totally. But then I'm also like, okay, like then it's this cycle that then that almost becomes like anti-empowering because you're like taking away from the friend. But I'm with you. It's like, why wasn't it ever a discussion? Why is this an assumption? That's what I like. I don't feel like
It's
that's
so
just how
weird.
it is. What do you
It's
mean?
like people are like, well, it's the lineage, it's the lines. And I'm like, we're not back in the
What
day
lines?
when
Yeah.
like property gets passed down through like that is so it's so archaic to me. And
Yes.
also, if you're planning to have kids, this
Yeah.
idea that a woman loses her name and then the kids take the other person's name after you have housed them
Ha-
and fed them. I'm like,
Create. Yeah.
these children, if they're not getting both our names, they're getting my name. That's it. Like that's it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's not I just don't understand it. I'm like, everyone should do what they want to do, okay?
Yes.
But like I just do not understand how I lose who I have been up until this point. Half of my name, I just lose it after I decide to commit to somebody else. So I was having none of that. Actually, it's funny, my husband and I, we were having a discussion about something, and I think at one point, like, he thinks he's joking a lot, but like sometimes the jokes don't like translate, and so
Right,
like,
right.
we're like, what? But we had a discussion, and he's very like he's a feminist. He's very like aware and stuff. But like he said something about how then I'll change my name for him. And I was like, I remember just being like, what the actual fuck is happening right now? And then like a couple days later, I was like, don't get upset. I don't know what's happening. This can't. I would never expect this from him. So a couple days later, I'm like, I think we should hyphenate our name. And he was like, I'm not hyphenating my name. And I was like, and then I just like leapt off the deep end.
Yeah,
I did like
yeah.
a squirrel dive right on in, and I was like, "What the fuck would I ever change? You're not gonna change your name?" Oh, and I went off on him, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm not changing my name." He's like, "I don't want you to change your name," and I was like, "What? You said the other day?" And he goes, "Oh my god, I was totally kidding." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding?" I'm like, for the last 2 days, I have been stewing
Like
and like
seething.
like I was like, "Should I call off the wedding?" Like it was so. And so we each kept our last name and we hyphenated our kids' last names. But like,
Oh, cute. There you go. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny too. And sometimes you're like so sure that you heard them correctly and in the right context and in the right tone, and then you're like, oh, never mind. I don't hate you.
was like, oh, let me just reverse those last 2 days. I might have been mean to you the last 2 days, had nothing to do with anything. Don't worry about it. Just forget all
Minus
those.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I want it to be a choice that we're making. I don't want it to be an assumption that I just, and also like you're saying,
Yes.
anyway, you've said all this, but I'm like, it's rooted in bullshit, and we're just cool that we're like, oh no, but that's the bullshit that we're using as a foundation for our entire lives and decisions moving forward. And I'm like, are we going to question that for just like 30 seconds? Are we going to question that?
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, every woman should make whatever choice she wants to make. I just think that it should be a choice that she wants and not something just because people do it. And also, like think about your Instagram handle, right? Do you have to change
Branding.
that's more the
Am I
hassle than
right?
it is,
Branding. I regret mine so much. Mine is hot, cold, spicy, and I absolutely regret it. It's not my name at all. It's so bad. I fucking hate it, Aisha. And great. So thank you for the reminder. I hate it so much.
I love it. I love
Oh,
it.
you have to. But I hate it. A year from now, when we're like really good friends, you can be like, by the way, I was lying. That's bullshit. You should change that. And I'll be like, great. Thank you so much. Now we're at the level where you can be like, Amanda, that was a fucking stupid decision. Speaking of branding and acting, and okay, so now I'm going to sweat more because I have a question for you. Okay, so I find that when I am around people, and not just in the industry, but like when I'm around people that I think are wonderful and that I admire and that I'm intimidated by, you and like many of the people that I'm bringing on the show that I just think like, oh, you're so wonderful, and I feel intimidated. I found this habit with myself that I like so quickly set up this dynamic. I don't even mean to, that like, oh, you are higher status than me and I am lower status than you. And that really gets in the way of like starting an actual fucking friendship with people, because I've just established like, hello, I am your like small dwarf and I whatever, which is horrible. And you, between like acting, hosting, stand up, like you have worked and been alongside so many huge names, like Bill Burr, Elizabeth Olsen, Kaylee Cuoco, Chris Messina. I'm always worried that I'm going to say Messina, and I know it's not Messina. And of course,
Is it not? I always call Chris Messina. Maybe I'm saying
maybe
it
is. Look, now I'm sweating on my upper lip. I watched YouTube after anyway, and I was like, how is he saying his name? Okay, Chris Messina or Messina, love you. I think you're an incredible actor. All these people, and so how do you help yourself not like fangirl too much or be too intimidated when you're going to go meet and work with these huge names who are just human beings, but your brain can't always remember that they're human beings? Like, how do you approach that?
It's hard, I think, because like the truth is, I am bad at recognizing people, which is
that's not going to help me. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
It's to my benefit in this because like when I auditioned for Sorry for Your Loss, you know, my scenes are all with Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
And so when I went for the callback, she was the one reading.
Oh my God, Aisha, I would have died. I'm such a fan of hers. I would have died.
I didn't recognize her.
Oh, actually, that's amazing.
So it was like, I went in and like, you know, she was lovely and she was an amazing reader. I was like, God, she's good actor. And I like read with her and was like very intense with her because a lot of mine was listening. Like my audition for that was mostly listening and like a line at the top and a line at the end with like a huge monologue of hers in the middle.
Wow.
So I was just staring at her listening and having feelings and thoughts. And at the end, I left and the casting director was like, "Oh, thank you for not fanning out." And I was like, And then she's like, "Yeah, like so many people came and were like, oh my God, like they didn't know." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And then I was like, I left because I was like embarrassed that I didn't recognize that it was her. But I really think it helped me because I was not like freaked out. But like, you know, the truth is when I do recognize people, like my first gig I got here was Criminal Minds. Okay. Like I got this great juicy role where I was Criminal Minds.
You were so good in that episode.
Thank you.
Oh my God. It was a terrifying episode.
A bumper episode. No big deal.
So good.
So I love Aisha Tyler, okay? And we, like, people often, like, they'll think my name's Aisha because they know Aisha Tyler. When I was at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival on, like, my first gala, I was introduced accidentally as Aisha. Elvira Kurt, who is, like, amazing and I love her. We didn't know each other then, but she was, like, everybody, she did the bio, and then she, like, said, Aisha Tyler, and then she like walked back and went, "Oh," and then she like was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and went back out and was like, "Let me just redo that," and it was like, so when I went to go audition for Criminal Minds, Aisha Tyler was in the room because that was her first episode she was gonna direct, and I literally was like, "Oh my gosh." And so she's like, "Hey, great to meet you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just did a comedy festival where I was introduced as you." Like I full on was like,
I'm you. I have all these connections to you. Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh God, not this again," you know? But then I like did like settled in and like did my work. It was great, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like I think that more often than not, I'm like, "Oh hey, I know who you are," because I get triggered to be like, I must know this person. And then I realize when I'm talking to them that I know them from TV or from whatever. Which I think sometimes makes people feel like more comfortable because you're not like, "Oh, you're a famous person, oh my God," and like you're just like, it's like I'm like a good friend of theirs or something is how I acted toward them. Like Bill, I met him, we were doing a show together at the Largo, and there's like 2 green rooms in the back, and one's for like the famous people and one's for like the nobodies like me. And I walked in and I had just finished watching F is for Family, his animated series, and I heard him talking and I was like, "Oh my gosh," and I like walked right in, interrupted the conversation, was like, "I just watched your show, I love it so much." And he was like, cool. And he's lovely. So he like, we had a conversation. And the next time I saw him, we like exchanged numbers. But like, I think that for me, my problem is I either don't recognize or I go in hot thinking I know them. And then it sets this like tone of like, oh, we're just cool. And then afterwards, like a few days after knowing them or a few times hanging out, I'm like, oh my God. And then I get that feeling where I'm like, you're so much better than me.
Oh, it like comes, it's like delayed later. So how do you deal with that when you're like, okay, I already have Bill Burr's number, or like I'm now already filming and I've had lunch twice already with Elizabeth Olsen and now it's creeping in.
I think I tend to be like, you know what? Like, if it's a natural friendship, it's gonna like get over the awkwardness.
Yeah.
And like the truth is, like I've met a lot of like famous people or big names and stuff, And like most of them, we're not going to be friends. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it is. But like the people who you connect with, you will find ways to like reconnect with. Like Bill and I have like connected so many times. Like it's been like I now know his wife. I've met his kids. Like that just like naturally came about. You know what I mean? But like some other people, like on the new show on Based on a True Story, like we were all super like having a great time on set and really close, but like I never got Kaylee Cuoco's number, you know what I mean? So like I will sometimes be like, like when she had her baby, I sent her like a congrats on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is to her or like her, you know, person or whatever, but like, you know, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen is really the truth. And I find that I have a lot of anxiety hanging out with people one on one, no matter who they are. So I'm kind of like, I'm probably not going to be friends with everybody. Like, I'll be cool with them. We'll be able to like hang out at a show or something. But like, I can't be my full self naturally easily. You know what I mean? It takes me a little while. It takes me finding the right people. So that's okay. You know, that's what I've come to terms with is like, it's okay that like, I'm not going to be friends with everyone who I think is cool that I would like to be friends with. But like, why do I want to be friends with them if I don't, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where like, is it because they're famous? Then maybe that's not a good reason for me want to be friends with them or for them to be friends with me.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm like, I'm realizing too, I'm equating intimidation with admiration, and it's not always the same. It can be wow, and there are some people where I'm like, wow, I think they're so talented, and I just don't naturally feel like a pull towards being their friend or whatever. And I think you're right. It's like a chemistry thing. And someone said, it might have been Nilu Handa actually in an episode that I did. Yeah, with Nilu, and I know who you know Nilu as well.
Yeah.
Well, friends with Nilu.
Yeah.
And she had said, like, I think it was her. I might be misquoting, but I think it was her where she was like, be friends with people who want to be friends with you. Like it's you don't have to. And also there's the you know, old saying of like, gauge being friends with somebody by how they make you feel. Like, do you feel like yourself around them? Do you feel like, is your nervous system super activated when you're around them? That might be for a reason. And maybe it's a temporary reason, but yeah, being more selective, you know?
Temporary thing. And the more I think there's something like, there's really something about like sitting with yourself, right? Like if you are really clear about you, it's really easy to find who you're going to be friends with and know if you should pursue someone who you want to be friends with, because like, you know yourself well. And you want to let that all shine. You know, I think it's often like when we are feeling insecure about ourselves or insecure about letting ourselves shine, like bad example, the farting. Like, like if I can't fart around you or tell you I'm leaving to go fart, we're not going to be able to be friends.
It's not working. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're right. I think you're making me realize that for so much, definitely of like my younger years or my 20s, like so much of time, I spent approaching friendships like, oh, am I like this person? Do I want to be like this person? Rather than just, I am who I am, and let's see how that connects with people. Rather than, you know, running around and being like, oh, am I like Aisha? Am I like this person? Am I like Coco? Will I be? Should I be? And that's just not a grounded place to come from ever.
Well, and it's not helped by social media and things that make it really easy to compare yourself. But like, I'm in therapy. Cannot recommend therapy enough to the world.
Always.
You know, and I'm like, I'm realizing like a lot of patterns of like relationships where I grew up feeling like I didn't have unconditional love. I grew up feeling like it was very conditional. I had to be exceptional. I had to like not make anyone feel bad. I could never be angry. I could like so many different rules to feeling like I was worthy of love, right?
Yeah.
Which then like translates into all of these friendships where like you're just trying to people please and you're trying to like be different so that you will be accepted. But like, and that I think that part of that is especially then like before social media, you didn't have many options for friends. Like, you had the options of people who you went to school with or you were in your groups with like soccer or basketball or whatever you did. But like now you have like the options to be friends with anyone in the world, at least online. You know what I mean? So there you can find like different ways to like let your freak flag fly, if I may say so.
Yes.
Whatever that means. So like I'm starting to now like, you know, even like people I've been friends with for a long time where I'm like, if it's not working, it's not working, and that's okay. Like blessed are we all to be able to like just live our full lives and shine our full light. And sometimes that means you have to let people go. And that's not mean or bad. It's like a beautiful thing for the universe, you know? So.
And it doesn't, I think it's sad, or like it's unfortunate that we sort of, as like a society, frame that something is either forever or it's a failure. Like that a friendship, it doesn't make sense to me. Like if you were in like a 20-year marriage and then you both decided to uncouple, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry that was a failure. I'm like, you fucking lived together. What are you talking about? It's 20 years. Like I think so. And some friendships, they're gonna, maybe they'll like dissipate for a little bit and then they're gonna come back in 10 years or never, and they were a gift to you during that time. Like I think it's all about just like perspective and reframing it all for yourself.
And remembering that like you're an awesome, unique star, you know? And so like you will always be able to find friends. You will always be able to find new friends. So if you have to like let something go, or you're in a place where like everybody, you know, like someone who was like, oh, I had addiction issues and everyone I knew basically was part of that, and they were enablers or encouragers. So like you have to let go everybody. But like that must be so difficult. I've never gone through that. And also you are a unique star who attract, like you have light to shine, and you get to shine upon people's faces. Like you will find somebody wonderful. And one of my friends said to me when I had a big breakup that was really hard, she's like, you were fine before and you will be fine again. And that's just the beginning, middle, and end of it. So, you know, it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm like, if it is really true, and it's hard to remember in the moment, and even like, you know, pre the moment. My therapist had this wonderful thing where she's like, sometimes we make choices based on what we think is going to have the best outcome, but what we should do is make choices based on what is like the most true to us. And I was like, oh my God, I've been doing that so much lately, being like, well, if I do this and the other thing, and I'm like, but wait a minute, like what's going to be true to me, and then we'll deal with what comes later, because it may come, it may not come, whatever. But like we cannot predict the future, so like why don't we just like live with what we know and with our like integrity intact and go from there. You're
right, because otherwise if you're choosing, I'm going to do this not because it feels right to me right now, but because then this will be the outcome, and then this, when those outcomes, or if those outcomes don't come to fruition or don't come in the way that you want, it just builds resentment. You're like, I only made this choice for that. But if you choose something that is true to you, like you said, that it's maintaining your own integrity, then even if somehow, and I'm using air quotes, like doesn't work out, whatever that means, you're like, well, I made the choice that was right for me. Someone said too, like forgive, I'm going to fuck this up, but it was like, forgive your future self. I don't know. It's like forgive yourself for not knowing what your future self knows, basically. Like make a decision, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to make this decision, and next week I might be like, God damn it, I don't want this outcome. But Amanda today did not know that outcome. So like I only know the information I have.
Can I tell you this thing that my dad told me, and it still gives me shivers, and it's like way too spooky, okay? But
I love spooky. Tell me.
Oh, it's like spooky good. So he's my dad is a very like spiritual man. He's like very African. He's very into like a lot of stuff. But he said to me, he's like, whenever you have a choice to make, where there are like two things you can choose, he said you must like deliberate a lot, and so you make a good choice. And then once you make the choice and you move down that path, the reality is the other choice never existed.
I'm not people pleasing. I promise you. I hope you can see. I'm like got goosebumps.
It's spooky, right? Yeah. Oh my God. So like,
you're right. It never fucking existed to begin with. It never existed.
There's never a wrong choice. There's never a bad choice. Whatever choice you take leads you down the path that you were meant to go down, that you needed to learn from, that you need to be on. And so it's like, you know, don't make a choice flippantly, but like you literally, it gives you permission. You've never, ever, ever, think about this. You've never in your life made the wrong choice. Oh! I can't deal with it sometimes.
Well, because it's also, even if, and like even if you don't, I struggle sometimes with like meant to be, or this is the path for you or whatever. But even if we remove that, if I'm at a fork in the road and I can choose A or B, if I choose B, it's like, that's just the path. Now I sound like I am stoned and I'm like talking philosophical, but I'm not. But truly, like if I choose B, yes, A never existed. And also then B is just the path that I am on, whether I'm meant to be on it or not. Like that's reality. That's where I am. That is the only thing that exists when they're like writing my memoir. Whoever's my little gremlins in my head are writing my memoir, whoever the fuck is doing that. like option A never existed. Wow. Mr. Alpha. Alpha? I don't know. Maybe you took your mom's last name.
Mr. Alpha, and in fact,
Mr. Alpha.
everyone just calls him Alpha, though, including my mom, like
Oh,
it's his first name.
what a great,
So, which is also very like spiritual guru kind of stuff.
100%. Oh yeah, 100%. I wonder if people accidentally spell it with like a PH.
Always.
Yeah.
I'll tell them ALFA and they spell it PH, and I'm like, thank you for thinking of me as a dog.
Wow.
But it's just an L. Like
Thank you for listening to me. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Okay, so you spoke a little bit earlier about motherhood. I would love to ask you. Okay, so first of all, your series +1 that you created while pregnant. Yes. First of all, it was such a gift to. I have never been pregnant. I have no children. But the whole thing scares me, confuses me, not sure. And I find it really hard to find spaces where people are sharing and speaking about pregnancy and motherhood in a neutral way, like where all the feelings are accepted and not just like complete total positivity optimism, or you're like evil.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find.
And it's so offensive because people use that positivity to make huge judgment about women and about let's say momming for real. Like they're so judgmental about women talking about how hard it is. And even people like my husband, like he's a lovely person. He's a wonderful partner. He's a wonderful parent and a wonderful co-parent. And like, even people can't get it fully if they haven't gone through it. And it's not to say that they don't want to, but like some of the things he said, I remember just being like, are you fucking out of your mind right now? Like, I remember at one point, and he'll hate that I'm saying this, but he to this day is like, I can't believe I ever said that. But I was talking about how when we got pregnant right after our honeymoon, it was on our honeymoon that we got pregnant. We found out right after our honeymoon. So it was like, for me, I was like, this is like too soon. Like I wanted to have some time, but whatever. And then I was kind of like having this like real like existential crisis. And I was like, yeah, like you don't understand him. I'm like, my job is about like, I'll be out of my job for so long. My body will change, like all of these different things. And he was like, well, you know, I'm also going to have things that are changing. Like it's pretty 50-50. And I remember being like, wait,
show me that math. Show me your work, sir, on that math equation of 50-50. I would love to see.
And I think it was a very big, like, it was like a defense thing because he has wanted kids his whole life. And then when we finally got pregnant really easily, he was just like, what? You know, like he was like, don't do that. That's not like blah, blah, blah. But again, I hope he never sees this because he'll be very angry that I shared that because it's not who he is.
Also, he's lovely and a lovely partner and we can only joke about this because the foundation is a lovely human being.
Yes. But like, yeah, like I made that because I was actually up for a show and I got dropped when I was pregnant. And I had all this time on my hands because I had cleared my schedule for the show that I had been booked for. And I was like, well, I'm going to make something then because this is the reason, like, I'm not able to do this because of this pregnancy. And so I want to have like a positive experience. But when I looked at like, I was also worried about being pregnant and like scared of birth and like, am I going to be a good mom and all this stuff. But I was like, every time I would look for things, it was like this Disney version of what motherhood was.
Yeah.
Like, I am not this person. So like none of this relates. I can't relate to any of it. So I asked my girlfriends who were like either trying to get pregnant, going through fertility stuff, moms, whatever, just about like their experiences and give me the real and made those interviews to kind of like have another option that was not candy coated. A lot of them were really funny just because it's hilarious being a parent, right? Life is ridiculous. But like a lot of them were also really emotional because it is hard and you do kind of like have to mourn yourself as a person, as a woman, as a woman who then becomes a mother, and like you have to mourn your old life and like figure out how to pick up the pieces when you literally have nothing physically and spiritually and emotionally left. And then you have to wake up 7 times a night to breastfeed your kid, and your career's on hold and your partner doesn't get it, and like your friends are out having the times of their lives and getting all these great like roles and stuff. And like, so I wanted to show, at least from my circle of friends, like what that was like, and then like honor and celebrate the strength of these women who had done that, you know? Because like moms are fucking phenomenal. Like it's insane. Like, whether you agree with how a mom is momming or not, like, every mom is phenomenal and trying her best, and that's all there is to it, you know? So we need more of that.
Absolutely. And more space. Like, even in conversations with my close friends who have young kids, like just started having kids, or I can feel their like hesitation. It's almost like they're filtering constantly, like, is this okay to, if I say this, am I a bad mom? Okay, then I'll shame myself and I'm not going to say it. And the spaces to like allow yourself to be like, I don't like my kid today. Or like, I'm so bored, or I'm so annoyed. And like, I know I don't have children, but I'm seeing that, and I'm wanting to like dive inside my friends' hearts and heads and just go to the core of their motherhood and be like, hey, you can hate this as much as you want, and it doesn't mean that you love your kid any less. Like,
Totally.
you know, but the shame that is presented to you is so fucking real. And I get frustrated that there's not more real dialogue around pregnancy and motherhood, because it's one of those things that, like, once I get pregnant, if I ever do, it's too late. Like, I want to know the shit before. Let me sign the waiver before I get the surgery. Like, that's the thing. Don't be like, oh my God, pregnancy is amazing. And then I get pregnant and you're like, you're going to feel like you want to die for 9 months. And I'm like, no one fucking told me. This is so annoying.
Right. You need to know all this. And the thing is, too, I think part of it is people don't want to, like, we have amnesia. We forget a lot of bad stuff. And that's, like, the way it's designed so that people will have more than one child.
Also,
right?
like, annoys me towards like nature and evolution, like what I can't fucking handle. Like, I should be in, that feels so like patriarchy came up with that. Like, a dude figured out amnesia for pregnancy.
Can I say, I am fucking here for it. I do not want to remember all the bad stuff. I need not to have this full goodness fill those holes for me.
Okay,
like,
fair.
I am all about it.
Fair.
And like, the other thing is too, especially with like pregnancy, I think now it's like I'm working on this documentary about menopause, about, you know, like, same sort of idea where like no one talks about it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same for both of these, that like, everyone only has their own experience. And so there's like a million different things that can happen. Like, when you're pregnant, all your teeth could fall out. That's a possibility. It doesn't happen for a lot of people, but it's possible that that could happen. Okay. Like, it's something called relaxin. It loses everything. Your teeth fucking fall out for all of them.
It happens to enough people that there's a term for it. That's not okay.
So, but like, so say out of like these, let's just for arbitrary, there's 1,000 things that could happen during pregnancy.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to experience like 25. Okay. And then of those 25, I'm probably going to share 3. That's just the way it works. Okay. And so like, it's almost like, even you want people to share, give me all those 25, right? But even if you don't get all the 25, I still don't know.
Oh, there's so many more.
75, unless I literally speak with as many women as possible or whatever. Like, we're playing odds here, right? So, then each pregnancy is different. Each kid is different. Each sleep pattern is like, it's just like, it's insane. And so it's like, there is no way to be prepared. There is no way, but we do ourselves a disservice in trying to pretend like it's all good, for sure. Yeah. Because it's not. And we do it, like, I love to be in rooms just full of moms. Oh, the realness is so beautiful. It's like the most feminist energy I think I've ever been around, because people are like, my fucking kids, you know, like, you can just like let it out and know that you're supported and held by other like women who've gone through this or not gone through this, and they're just okay. Like, you know, here there's this whole movement. Sorry, I'm just like rambling because this is my fucking soapbox, and this is,
I
like,
love it. Please.
I on this hill, but like the like abortion rights and like women's reproductive rights here. Like, I've never had an abortion, and I don't plan on being pregnant ever again. My husband got a vasectomy, so like, I probably will never have to like worry about that. And like, I didn't want to, you know, but I am like a huge advocate where I'm like, that should not make a difference, because women should have the ability to have control over their bodies and the choices that they make for their bodies. And the fact that like this stuff is all like regulated and like lorded over by these fucking conservative like white dudes,
religion,
to their like, you know, mistress or whatever, which is all very, very trope and very like, you know, whatever. But like, it's just like, I just don't understand. I have like, I joke about this in my comedy, how like, when I gave birth, I legit walked around like I was like, I am a fucking like giant Amazonian woman who is like of the earth. And I'm like, I'm made apart. Like, I'm like, you're all made by us. We own you bitches. Like, I was like so like empowered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell is anyone treating women badly? Like,
I know you came from one. Like,
them? It's insane.
I know.
It's insane.
I know. Yeah, I'm totally. One of my like the first close friend of mine who started having kids. Her oldest daughter is turning 4 soon, and I literally still will be like, oh my god, she has kids, or like I'll just think of her and I'll be like, she grew 2 human beings. I'm like, yeah, one of them she gave birth to like 4 years ago, and I'm still not over the marvel that is like any of my friends' kids. I just, when I think of them, I'm like, you held this, you birthed this, you like grew this.
Yeah.
You grew. My friends can't tell me how hearts work, and they made one. They grew a heart that will keep a human alive for like almost a century. What?
And like, if you have a girl, they have all of their eggs. So like, you not only made them, but in ways you also made their kids.
And
like,
their
it's
kids'
you know what I
kids.
mean?
And
It's
you
so-
made generations. It
You
is
have
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
You're iconically generational.
What? Like, this is why it's crazy to me that we take men's names. If we're talking about the line, women are the line.
100%. We're the line, okay?
We are
We're the fucking line. It is wild. Yeah, but you know what? Okay, someone said this. I'm not going to say it as well, but it was like, because of our magic in that way, our birthing magic, our growing magic, our uterus magic, that's why the men had to do that.
Oh, 100%.
Because they were
Jack
so
was powerful.
intimidated by the magic. They were like,
Yeah.
fuck, we got to control that shit or they're going to run the world. But I'm also like, you know what? Might have been better for them. We might have taken better care of them than they take. I don't know. I also, that's not very feminist because it's much more like, I don't think we're better than men. I think there are so many men that are absolutely wonderful. I think humans can be wonderful humans in America or Canada. You know what I mean? But
Right.
just saying, let's respect the oven
general,
where we
though,
are growing them.
If you had to pick a side, we're picking women. I mean,
We're
come
picking
on.
women. We're picking women. We're picking women. 100%. And we're
Yeah.
taking up space. If we pick women and pick men and pick non-binary and pick every type of human being, we're also going to take up
Yeah.
space that we want.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I'm joking because there is no picking of anything. Like, truthfully, if women ruled the world, we would just take care of everybody. You know what I mean? Like, we would just put a big, beautiful arms and bring you to our bosom. It would not matter what your genitalia was or what your religion was or what anything was. Mamas are mamas. It doesn't fucking matter.
Oh, mamas are mamas. So true. At Pride, there was different women walking around offering mom hugs, and just it never gets old. Me seeing that, I'm just like, oh, my heart, my heart, my heart, my heart. It's beautiful. I, as somebody without any human children, I really want to support my mom friends. And I find myself trying to assume or anticipate like what they need. Like I'm like, oh, I want to ask them about their kids genuinely, and then I think, oh, maybe they don't want to talk about their kids. That's not their only identity now. Anyway, and then I just get in my head and I just ask them. But I'm wondering for you, like, what were some of the ways that your friends showed up for you, like in your pregnancy or your motherhood, that you found especially impactful?
I mean, my first pregnancy was really easy and fun, and I felt amazing. I jogged until I was like 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was crazy.
Good for you. Yeah.
My second pregnancy, I was on bed rest, which sucked. And I think like, and then when my daughter was born, like she's like the most fierce human being I've ever met in my life. Like from the moment she was in utero, when she's like, I'm getting born, bitches. Like she just like defied all odds, and like, you know, she was clinically colic. So she cried for hours and hours on end, even though there was nothing wrong. And she would vomit like constantly up until she was 1 year old.
Because
like
she was crying so hard?
Not even from the crying. So the crying was a whole thing. And then she also just vomited. And as she got older, it became cyclical vomiting, which means she just would vomit for like 6 hours, 7 hours, longer sometimes. We'd have to go to the hospital. So like, you know, it was very, very difficult. And it's very like devastating as a mom when your kids are sick. and it's really hard when there's nothing you can do. Like when kids have colic, like there's nothing you can do because there's nothing wrong. They just cry like someone is stabbing them for hours.
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
and like one of my girlfriends, who actually know from home, from Winnipeg, who lives here, she's like this amazing, just good energy. She's an amazing friend. She's got amazing energy. And she came by, and of course, my daughter was like wailing. And it's like, you know, as a mom, like you're postpartum, you're healing physically, mentally, everything. You hear your kids cry, your breasts start leaking. You're like a mess, right? Like I've never sweat so much in my life, speaking of sweating.
Both armpits or just one?
Oh, armpits, back, like I would wake up in
all
puddles,
of it.
all your hormones push stuff out.
Oh,
But like, you know, you feel like a disgusting puddle of messy and you're very emotional. And like she came over and she's like, "Can I hold her?" And I was like, "Sure." And she held her and then she started wailing. And I was like, "Oh, okay, you know, take her back." And she was just like, "If you're fine with it, I'm fine with it. I'll just bounce her, I'll hold her over there." And she just took her to like a different room. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're my best friend. You're my best friend I ever had." Like I was just like, she was just so at ease. Like she's like, "I'm not gonna make this go away, but like no one is." So she's like, if nothing's wrong, then like it
yeah,
doesn't matter if
exactly.
she's loved by you or by me, and like you need a break. So she just like
Yeah.
took her, and I was like, it, honestly, like things like that where it's like, you know, moms need a break. They often just need someone to help. So whether it's like bringing them food or like offering to like look after their kid if you're trustworthy with kids and they can trust you, you know, or like people will be like, "Oh, I got you a spa day," and it's like, great, but like I can't go to a spa day unless
Right, like-
someone's gonna look after my kid, like,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. So like the whole package, if you're gonna help take care of a mom, it starts with like giving them space and time, and that might mean like giving them space from their kids, like joyfully, and like not asking questions. Like sometimes when my husband's like, "Okay, like I'll do this," but like then he comes back and he's like 15 questions, and I'm like, let me just do it then, because and like just go do the thing. If you get it wrong, it's fine, or if you do it differently, it's fine. Like it doesn't matter. Just give me space.
Yeah.
So as a mom, for me, I can speak for myself. One thing that's like so I so much appreciate is when people give me space. That is like just me space, whether it's just me on my own to like get a massage, to literally like watch trashy TV. Josh's family, when we went away, like to a family kind of thing, they let us get away to go get to my friend's wedding in Niagara, actually. And so we were gone for 2 nights, and they like took care of our bebes, and it was literally like the most beautiful, freeing thing to know like they're in trusted hands. Yeah, like just I feel like that's the thing is, you know, to be a great mom, you need to just have space to reconnect with yourself and to like take some time for self-care, which is impossible to find time for. So like my advice to people who are looking for like, what can I do for a mom? Find ways to like give them space to themselves. That's it.
Ugh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Calling all my friends. I'm coming over. I'm stealing all your children.
Sarah, and thank her again for that time, because she came like a couple times. She's like, "I got her. I'll just take her." And I was like, "I love you so much." I do.
When you do get time, thanks to your friends, what trashy TV are you watching? Just side
I
note.
was watching Selling Sunset. Was like
yes.
I love Selling Sunset so much. I just love watching, seeing the homes, seeing the cattiness, where I'm like, this is not my life, and this is so amazing to watch.
Yes.
Also, something that I watch, I like love watching dating shows, like The Jewish Matchmaker.
Oh, did you watch the Indian Matchmaker too? Did you watch both of them?
Indian Matchmaker, love. But I think one of my favorite reality shows, which is honestly like a feel-good show, is Love on the Spectrum.
Okay, that is on my list. So many people tell me to watch it, and I haven't seen it yet.
My husband used to always know when he would like go out and come back and I was bawling. He's like, "Were you watching Love on the Spectrum?"
It's like, oh, he's like, she's fine. She's just been watching. She's been binging on Netflix.
It is literally the most beautiful show, because it's like all of our insecurities, all the things we try to hide so desperately from the world when it comes to love, are just like without any shame poured out of these people who are on the spectrum on the show. It is the most beautiful, honest, authentic thing I've ever seen, and it makes me be like, I want to be more like this in my life every time I watch it. It's so amazing.
Wow.
I can't recommend it enough.
You
I want there
fucking
to be more
sold me.
of
I might watch it tonight. You sold me. I'm just
Please
gonna message you like a crying face, and you're just gonna know, like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're just watching Love on the Spectrum.
It's only going to add to your life to watch this and see the beauty that is people on the spectrum looking for love and being honest about what they want in love. It's gorgeous.
Oh,
It's
God.
gorgeous. And even things like, they'll be like, so should I pay or should you? And it's like, no, you should pay. You're the man. Like, it's like so just, it's the things we're always worried about, but they just say it. I love it so much.
Which is so matter of fact. No, you should pay. Yeah.
It's
like,
it's so
the setup
beautiful.
structure is that you pay because you're the man. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like, great.
Like, okay, now we understand the system. We can go forward. Like, it's so good.
Oh, okay. I'm probably gonna watch. There's a multiple seasons, right? Are there 2 seasons? I think
There's multiple seasons, and then there's multiple. There's like American version. There's the Australian version, and I don't know if there's another one, but I'm hoping that there's another. Like, where else can we go, people? Because
let's go.
Yeah,
100%.
it's so good.
Have you seen the Ultimatum, like the queer version, or the MTV? Oh, it's so I mean, it's trashy, but it's great. It's just there's so many problems with it in terms of like approaching queer television, and somehow like MTV does it better a million years ago, which like sure, like I guess we haven't learned. But I forget what oh my God, yeah, I forget what it's called on MTV now, which is so bad because I watched all the seasons of it. Anyway, it's really
There's
good too.
I watched Love Is Blind.
Yes.
As like another like trashy one that it's not a feel good, obviously, like
not at all
show for the most part, but it was like it made me realize I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, you know, especially not wanting to get married. These people have like they so desperately want to get married, and I just like I can't even wrap my brain around it. And so
I know,
it's kind of fun, like, watching Aliens.
Yes, I'm totally with you. Where like to so many, maybe all of these people, that the agenda is to get married before meet a person I'd want to marry, like that's the priority. And I can't, it's unfathomable to me. I don't understand the allure of being married unless the person is so incredible that I want to marry them. They're supposed to be the catalyst, not wanting to get married. Like I can't compute. I don't understand. So yeah, I love watching all that too.
Fit somebody they've just met into like a box that they've created and have been holding like steadfast, and it's like kind of fascinating, because even now, like my husband, like even when we met, like I was like, I don't really think I want to get married, and then like 6 months in, all of a sudden it was like someone flipped a switch in my brain, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I could do that.
I could do this.
Yeah, and then like we full on had like a wedding, like not just like we didn't just like go to the courthouse, like we had a wedding and like went on a honeymoon, like we did all the things, right? I had a wedding dress, like it was like a whole thing, but like it took me, again, like with the kids thing, it took me a while to reconcile with the fact that I was gonna get married and like go into this system that I so like despised in a way for me, but like. You know, I'm like, I love love. I love weddings. I loved being a wedding planner and watching people like being like, these people are really meant to be, or like these people want to have a good party. I don't think it's gonna last, but it's gonna be a good party. Like, you know, whatever. But like, yeah, that's one where I think that I watch that show and it's literally like watching Aliens. Like I just don't understand.
Yeah. It sounds like with your wedding and marriage though that you sort of like followed like Alpha's advice. And it wasn't that you were choosing, I'm going to choose this for the outcome of being married, but you were like choosing it of like, oh, this actually feels right now. And this feels right for me right now. And I'm not going to not do it because I made some arbitrary choice before of not having that outcome.
Exactly. Like I had to so fight against my own ego and pride, because I was like, I'm a person who doesn't want to get married. And that's like part of my identity. Yeah. And then when I felt like, oh, I did want to get married to him, I was like fighting against it, and it was just so arbitrary and stupid. Like I was like, that's dumb. Like that is so dumb. I'm sabotaging myself with this good relationship that's healthy with this person who wants to get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and you feel the desire to do it. Yeah. It's like, my therapist a long time ago was telling me like, and it was in terms of like career and stuff of a different career choice, but basically like you don't spend your adulthood like chasing your 14-year-old dreams. Like don't, and it's just this thing of like, if 5 years ago I said I didn't want to get married, if today's Amanda wants to get married, 5 years ago, Amanda's cool with it. Like she's fine.
Exactly.
Like I don't need to keep fulfilling or like checking off her to-do list or like going after her vision board. It's like I can make a new vision board. I have a new one already. Don't get in your way of it with like old dreams, old
we
arbitrary
hold on to
stuff
from our past so much, and
Yeah.
it really like hinders our not even our future. It hinders
It's
our
just
present.
It does.
Right? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Alpha would be proud of us. Mr. Alpha would be so proud of us right now.
I really think he would be.
I don't even know your dad. I'm just talking about him like he's like one of my best friends. I'm like,
No,
oh,
he would
Alpha.
love it. My dad is
Okay,
like,
great.
I have a podcast. It's on like a hiatus right now, but my dad was one of our early guests, and he like spit all this like
Oh.
deep African man knowledge, and like legit, my other co-hosts who were like, you know, comedians here were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, can you please come to LA? And like they were like, who is this man? And he was like, yes, that would be love. Like he's just so into
Like,
it. So,
book me.
yeah.
Let's do it. Get me an O1 visa. I'm there. Well, it's actually, I listened to your podcast and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't clue in that one of the episodes was your dad. And somehow we do have Mama Witchy telepathy, because the way that I wanted to end out our time together just for today is an ode to your podcast. So on Shout Out Show, your podcast with Sophia, you do like shout outs and then you also do a mantra. So first, actually, would you mind telling people what a shout, it might seem obvious, but could you tell people what a shout out is?
Oh yeah. So this all started from during the pandemic in the thick of like doomsday.
Yeah.
Sophia Zolan, who's like a hilarious comedian here, a Greek goddess of a woman. She's so amazing. And we were just like, we need something to be positive. So we used to go on Instagram Live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and just do like, we would like write out things that were like making us happy that week and like talk about them together. And it could be like nature, or one time she was like, coffee mate. I know people are gonna hate this, but I love coffee mate and it makes me happy. And so, you know, whatever that thing that you want to just be like, I want to shout this thing out, I want people to know about it because it's wonderful. And then we started doing it as like a live show for this theater here on Zoom, and then we started as a podcast. But basically it's like, you know, like it's about being grateful for whatever you can find that's positive, because during the pandemic, when there was a lockdown, it was like obviously very devastating for a lot of people. There was a lot of horrible stuff going on, but it was like trying to find the good so that everything wasn't about focusing on the bad, so we could put at least a few things in our frontal lobe that were like positive and see that and brighten everything up, right? Because what you see, then you look for and you find, right? So so we did that, and then when we did the podcast, we would have on a guest who would then bring shout outs as well. And it was like beautiful because sometimes they were like, we would talk about them for a few minutes, and sometimes we'd spend like so much of the show talking about like some random thing, like olives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whatever it was.
Yum. Yeah.
Right? And like very divisive at times, but like it's just like we have to remember, or we get to remember that like no matter what's going on, there are still good things, right? Like I'm breathing, I'm alive today, I got good hair, I'm like whatever it is, like finding the positive, even if it's just a teeny tiny little speck of light in like an absolute abyss of darkness, that counts.
Yeah. Oh, I
it was
love
really
that.
Yeah.
It was also, it's so wonderful to listen to. And if you ever decide to come off of hiatus, I so look forward to new episodes. But everybody who hasn't listened, go check out Shout Out Show, because it's such a lovely listen. It's such like, you gain so many like heart points. Like I just feel like my heart is energy being refueled. And I'm spurring this on you. So I would love for us to both share like a shout out and a mantra that we currently have. And I'm realizing I should have told you this ahead of time. So you know what? I will share my shout out first and give you some time. And also you take all the time you want. This isn't live. What am I saying? You take all the time you want.
I'm going to pour some more of my
Oh my gosh,
drink.
yes, please. With every sip, I'm sweating more, but then it's cooling me. I'm also wearing like fleece sweatpants. Like, who am I kidding? It's July. But my office gets so cold because the air conditioning vents. So usually I'm really cozy in sweatpants. But I had to remember nerves plus like, I don't know. Sweatpants.
Fleece. Fleece really
Plus
does
fleece equals sweating.
Yeah.
Okay, so my shout out today, and I didn't think of a theme. I just wanted to leave it open because I know on your show, which I love, every episode's a themed shout out. Okay, so I might be pronouncing this wrong, so I'm going to spell it too. So it's this app called Yuka, Yuka. You might already know about it. Oh, do you know about it already?
Is this the one that you can like scan things and see?
Yes! Oh my God, I love it. So you scan a bar. Okay, so not for Aisha, but for everybody else, for watching or listening, you scan, and the icon looks like it has a little carrot in it. But there's an app called Carrot. That's not it. Yuka. Yuka. The logos look very similar. I got confused. But you scan a barcode of any product, and it's products that touch your skin, typically. Like, my partner and I tried to scan something and nothing came up, and we're like, oh yeah, because it was something stupid. Like, this doesn't touch our bodies at all. That doesn't make sense.
It does like food and skincare and hair care and makeup and all that
and maybe cleaning products, maybe.
Ooh,
I think. I'm trying to remember if that's what we tried to scan. But essentially, you scan the barcode, and then it will give it a rating out of 100 of how clean. I'm using air quotes, like clean. But it will actually show you the different ingredients with like a little green circle or a little red circle being like, this is bad, this is like a carcinogen, or like, hey, this ingredient's fine for you. And then you can do with it what you want with that knowledge. But I think it is bullshit that we can say like organic, and that's a fucking brand name instead of an actual adjective of a product. Because I'm thinking, I feel very lucky. My partner and my mom both are very well versed in health and those things. So they can tell me, a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have time. A lot of people don't have resources to figure this out. And I don't like how it's not transparent. So it's free. And Yuka's free. I'm cheap. It's free. So you can use that.
Such a good app because I love it. Like you said, you can do with it what you want because it'll tell you like, okay, red, green, or yellow. And then it'll say like what the ingredient is, what the issue with it is.
Oh, yes.
It causes irritant. It's irritant for some people. So if you're like, if it's not irritant for you, then it's fine. It's not really a yellow or whatever. It's a green for you, right?
Yeah.
But then it'll also say like alternatives or like why it's banned or where it's banned and stuff like that. And then they offer you an alternative product that's similar to the thing you scanned if it has a low rating. So you can be like, instead of this, you could also use this. What do you think? You know?
So
and what
good.
I think that is, there's certain product or like companies where I'm like, oh, they're a clean company and I really like what they have. So, but then I'll scan like a couple different products from them, and like most of them are like 100 or like 97 or 98, but then one will be bad or lower because of some ingredient that's not used in most of their things. And they'll be like, well, this could be an irritant, or it could cause cancer, or it's like if it's ingested or if it's like left on. So it really gives you a lot of details so that you can, it's not just like, oh, it's bad or it's good.
Right. Like you can make a decision that's tailored for you. Exactly. Yeah. I love that too. It's like, here's the information. We're going to do the research work for you and kind of assess it ourselves. But then also we're allowing you to be autonomous and like making your own decision. Cause maybe you're cool with that ingredient, or maybe one of their green ingredients, you're like, I actually don't do well with that. I don't want it. So, I love that. I've been scanning everything in my apartment.
And the cool thing is they have no affiliation with any company. So it's not like they're trying to get you to buy something, which is always a suspect thing for me.
Didn't know that, and I love that. Okay, that's wonderful. It's wonderful. Great. Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot because if you didn't think of a shout out, I should have told you this ahead of time. You know Yuka, so.
I mean, I always have shout outs. Let's just put this.
Okay, great.
I always have things I can shout out. I think we made the show because it's really part of our personality.
Yeah.
Lately, I have been loving, like, I mean, I told you when you're like, what do you like to drink? And I was like, I love sparkling wine.
Yes.
Okay, so I have found this whole, especially in LA, this whole new movement of non-alcoholic or like de-alcoholized wines and sparkling wines. And there's a shop here called Boisson, and like basically it's a non-alcoholic liquor store.
Oh, the whole store.
Whole store.
Oh, I love that.
So they have like mocktails like De Soie, which is Katy Perry's company that does like these amazing, really good mocktails. The Elixir brand, which does like very complex, herbaceous like mocktails where like you pour it over ice. It's not just like sugar water. They're all low sugar. They have all of these wines and sparkling wines that are from wineries where after the process they remove the alcohol, so they taste like very similar to wine, or they taste like wine, just like you're missing the alcoholic qualities of it.
Wow.
And then they also have proxies, so things that are not made out of like things wine are made out of, but like things that would be like wines, but they're made of like mushrooms that relax you or whatever those things are, like CBD mocktails and stuff like that. And I drink alcohol, whatever, but like what I've found is I can't drink as like I used to, obviously, you know what I mean? Like also like I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'm like I can't afford to be hungover ever, you know what I mean? But like I have been having these I haven't tried a lot of red wines, but I've been having these like white wines and sparkling wines when I'm outside and it's hot, and I'm like there are no consequences. Like I feel fabulous and I'm like, you know, and I love a fancy drink. I love like a sparkling wine. I love all those things. But like now I can like drink a bunch of that stuff. Like if I'm gonna like go outside and have like to someone's pool or something, right? Like you bring a bottle of this, you're pouring it, you're having a great time with everybody. But like you can drive home.
You can drive. Well, and LA is such a driving city also that it's like, how else? Oh, yum. And can you, what's the name of yours again? Spring is in bloom. No, spring.
This is spring in a bottle.
Spring
it's like
in a bottle.
This is this one. So this is one. It's a new one I was trying, but it's delicious. It's like it's such a nice rosé. It has no alcohol. I have to. The reason I chose because I was gonna do sparkling. Like regular wine, but like I have to drive to a show after this, so I was like, oh well, I don't want to like drink a bunch, and chances are if I'm having fun I'm going to have more than one glass, you know what I mean? And so I was like, let me get a nice de-alcoholized one so I can have some drinks and then I'm totally fine.
I love that. Oh, I love that. That one I can't find. I couldn't find it in Canada. But so spring in a bottle, please come to Canada. I would love that.
I know, yes.
Because it looks beautiful.
It's really good too. It's really nice. It's a very good like summertime drink. But I highly recommend it. I feel like there's so many more places now that are interested in offering non-alcoholic drinks, but that aren't just like sugar water or just like soda water. It's like really complex, really wonderful. They offer different like I don't know, like I want fancy things. You know what I mean? I want fancy drinks.
Respect the buyer. Who doesn't want alcohol? They're still a buyer. They have money to spend. Hello, you're missing the opportunities here.
Well, and often they're more expensive than regular alcohol. So,
well, you know, I'm like, let's respect in that way too, and lower a little bit. Oh my God. Well, and do you have a mantra that that's currently in your heart? I guess. Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
I have like always. Again, I always have.
Oh, love. Is it from Alpha?
Oh my gosh, I have so many from my dad. It's crazy. But so I often have one that is like a Martha Graham quote that I like absolutely love. And I feel like I just want to send it to you separately because it's long, but it's like kind of epic in the way of like you have no business dimming your light ever as an artist. It's not your job to decide what's right and what's good. It's your job to like let it flow through you. But I'm gonna send it to you because it is so good and it's
Aisha, I have it because you mentioned it in an interview and I was like, wow, that's good, and I bookmarked it on my I could have been cool and like not told you that, but it was I actually in researching you I like stopped and read it a few times and I was like, oh, we're bookmarking this bitch and coming back to it's quite epic. I agree with that.
One of the most epic, beautiful things. And like, I don't know if you've seen any like pictures of Martha Graham dancing. She's like a marvel. Like it's just like the shapes her body goes into that are so strong. And like, she was kind of one of the pioneers who like broke through ballet, pointed toes, perfect this. She was like weird shapes. She wanted things to be different. And so this is like the perfect, so that's my kind of like always in my heart. But this is one I have that I feel like this is a good one to share. That's like kind of like a one of like it's hanging by my desk. I don't know if this is backwards or not, but it says, hear everyone, but do what you want. And it's an Urdu quote or an Urdu saying, but I was like, yeah, like it's important, I think, to like be open to other perspectives and hear everybody and like hear different sides of things. And in the end, you must always do the thing that feels the most right to you. And so it's like, my husband always laughs because he'll be saying like, we should do this or this. And I'm like, I do what I want. It's like a joke. But it's like, we should all really be saying that with our hearts and souls, I think, because you only have one life to live and it's so morbid, but we're all going to die. And like, you never want to, this is the other thing. Oh my God, this gives me shivers every time I say it. And it always makes me want to like die, but not actually, but like someone said like, what if if you believe in heaven, right? Or like an afterlife or whatever, what if when you died, you got to, big quotation marks, heaven, because, you know, whatever that thing is, and you met the version of yourself you could have been if you weren't scared to try something new, or you weren't scared to do it. And I literally was like I couldn't sleep for like 2 days after this person told me this. I was like,
Aisha, I'm crying. I'm literally, Tears in my eyes. Oh my God.
It's heavy, right?
I didn't know where you were going, and my like want of control, like, or my, I don't know, my stress, my like, oh my God, my heart was like trying to guess. And it's like when you're at a really good stand-up show, you're like trying to guess and you can't, like blow line. That's what it was. It was a heart stand-up show. Oh my God, I did. Ooh, I hope this is the dream, I guess, that I meet almost my twin. Like, that's what you want to meet. Not fully, because I want forgiveness of, because, like, listen, no perfectionism here. That's what we're trying to, like, unearth. So she's not going to be exact. But I really hope, she's a fraternal twin. She doesn't need to be identical. But I want her to be a fraternal, I want to meet my fraternal twin.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I feel like that is something that keeps me, if I go back to that, I'm always like, oh, snap, yeah. Like, don't limit yourself because you are scared, because you are ashamed, because you think you are not worthy, because nobody cares. It's only going to be you. It's only detrimental to you in the end. So, like, go for it. It's the stupidest thing I've ever said, but, like, really, like, just do it. Just go and do it and make it happen and, like, fail brilliantly and then get up and laugh about it and try something else. Like, it's not, you're not, the worst thing that could happen is you die. And that's going to happen anyway, you know?
Yeah. And then you'll meet your fraternal twin who's like, good job, girl, and high fives
like,
you.
That thing you did was crazy.
I would have done the same thing. I did the same thing. It's funny that you say, it's funny that you're like, your mantra is about like going to heaven or dying or whatever. My mantra that I have actually been, like, I was inspired by your podcast and I was like, oh my God, I've been having this in my head lately so much. I was watching a TV show and this character said it and it just like hit me. She just said to herself, like, you're not dying. It just feels like you are. And I've been like struggling with some grief lately, some like deep grief.
Sorry.
And I keep, thank you. And I keep, but I promise I'm okay, or I would not bring it here to this space. I promise I'm okay.
Totally.
But
And it's okay. Just FYI.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God, we're so going to be friends and we're on completely equal levels and I'm not lower status. I'm being friends. Because I set that up and I'm not setting that up here. But lately I've been saying it to myself, like when I'm really kind of, and I really am trying to like embrace all of the feelings around grief and I want to move through it and not around it or all the things. And so in however we do that, I don't even know, but day by day. But that's something I've been finding, I've been saying to myself is like, okay, you're not dying. It just feels like you are. And like feel the feelings and know what the reality is. You're not dying. It just feels like you are. And that when I'm saying it, it sounds morbid, I guess like you had said, but it's been bringing me so much comfort that like I can handle the feeling. Yeah. The reality is I'm not dying. And I could be. So let's be grateful that I'm not. But like, yeah.
Morbidity, like thinking about death is the only true living in a way, because like our wedding song is If We Were Vampires by Jason Isbell. And I remember the day my husband played it for me, we were on a plane and he's like, oh, I heard this new song, and he played it for me. I instantly started bawling because it's a song, I don't know if you know it, but it's about like talking about like, what if we had this great love? What if we could live forever and just have this love forever? And then he's like, but then I wouldn't feel this need to like hold your hand. I wouldn't feel this need to like, you know, these things that we cherish. And it's like, it's hit me and it's like, but we can't, we're going to die. Like we can't be vampires and just live here forever. And if we did, that would be way less special. We wouldn't feel the need to have all this fun. We would laugh at people who were like out there smoking and talking to each other intimately. Like we would be like, we can do that tomorrow. We can do it the next time. But like, it's so true about like living is about like understanding that like we are dying. It's when we forget that we're going to die that we think like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. Oh, I don't want to do that. That's too scary. Like we're all going to die. It could happen today. It could happen in 25 years. It could happen. Well, you don't know. So like in this moment, are you truly living if you think you can pass it on to do it tomorrow? Or are you truly living if you know like, I'm going to die, so I got to do this thing. I have to live fully. I have to say I love you. I have to like apologize. I have to like, you know, play with my kids and cancel that thing or quit my job or stay in my job or whatever it is, you know? Yeah. Like it's so beautiful. But yeah, so I think it's like people are like, that's so morbid. I'm like, or is it living? Is it the most alive we'll ever be?
Yeah. I don't think it's morbid to like just talk about something that is a fact, that is, we're all gonna die, and let's just talk about it. Like, yeah, it's just a fact. We're all just, if we just put it off or whatever, it doesn't make it less true. So it's a part of a human experience. It's a part of being alive. So I'm so with you that I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's all connect about it, about all the things, pregnancy, death, motherhood, all abortion, all the things, please. Like, let's just talk about them. And that would make my Heaven Amanda high five me, because she's talking about all of them for sure.
Yes, totally. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Aisha. I have kept you over time here, so I am going to say thank you so much. Look at me holding my chin like I'm like wrapping up and then holding my chin afterwards. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. You have genuinely been on my list of like people that I have wanted to have on the podcast since the inception of the show, however many episodes ago. I think you are wonderful, and everyone who talks about you to me says nothing but wonderful things. So you are very loved and cheerleadered everywhere.
Well, I hope it's because I genuinely cheerlead for everybody. I want everyone to win at all times, even people who are bad to me. I still want them to win. So like, that's a very beautiful thing to hear, but I appreciate it. This was so fun. I loved this. And also I love that it was just like when I was like seeing other ones, I'm like, oh man, it's so funny. And so like, but I was like, I don't know, whenever I get talking, it ends up being like this dark, deep things. I feel like, but like having space to have that is like a beautiful thing. So thank you.
I'm so glad that you felt that this was a space for that, because I want this to be a space for that. And that is so a part of my heart as well. And honestly, like I've been thinking this season, everyone listening and watching, every time therapy is brought up, drink, because it's every fucking episode at least once. So it's like at this point, it's like a running joke.
Like one of those like therapy online
like
companies.
BetterHelp.
Like
Yeah, I should reach out and be like, BetterHelp, I'm already advertising you basically.
Yeah.
Like jump on board. Let's go. Yeah. Yes. Please, everybody. It's such a gift to yourself if you can. And moms out there, if you need me to babysit while you have therapy, reach out to me, please.
Oh my gosh, that's like so the multi-leveled best offer you can make.
Oh, it is true. And like also, I'll bring you a snack.
Oh,
I'll just keep layering. Oh my God. Yes. Heaven Amanda's like, good, check. Good job. That was what I was going to do today. Good job. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Liquid Courage podcast. If you liked what you saw and you're looking to support the show, here's a few ways you can help. You can leave the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Liquid Courage Podcast. Or, and best of all, you can tell a friend about the show. Tell a family member, tell a coworker, post about your favorite episode online. Spread the word. That really is the best way to help support the show and help it grow. Did I just rhyme? Okay, until the next episode, cheers!